Man, we be. All righty. Okay. Peace, 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 everybody. Sorry we're running late. We're coming from the think tank. And this class is, this particular class, class one, is public for one. Let me add the guy in here. Peace, guy.
Peace, God. Oh, I didn't mean to come backstage.
Oh shit, you good. Let me hop you down. All right, you good. This is for the public, just so they can see exactly what Aboriginal University is actually doing. Hold on. Speaking of which, I know I need to change something. Um, Let me change that. Okay. Um, this is public, just so that people can understand what Aboriginal University is doing and what we are trying to inform the people of, just being legally competent, right? And there's students who actually signed up to be a tribal jurist within the ARNA jurisdiction, and they're going to be serving the community on a major scale. And there's going to be some things you're going to be looking at, from the material. You're going to be like, oh, that ain't real, or that's not nice. Peace, family, you in the building. And so, without further delay, we won't keep you guys too long. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and we'll go over the agenda. Hopefully everybody's doing well. All right. That's that. Present, share screen. We're going to share entire screen. All right, man. Ooh, hold on. Let me see if I can maximize this, because that looks very small. So let's see if I can do this. Yeah, that might be a little bit better. And then I'll just do this. All right, cool. Y'all can see that. Peace, family, in the building. I see you. I see you. Okay. So for the students that are in the class, you got your syllabus. You should have received your syllabus. You know what times that we're having class and stuff like that. And if anything does change, you will be notified and things of that nature. So we'll have class on Saturdays. And again, you have all the course material in the building. So you should have already downloaded this stuff. And then, why is there a syllabus? The reason why for the syllabus is to keep us organized, to make sure that we're on task and we're staying on what we need to focus and learn about, right? The goal and the purpose. The goal is to make you a tribal jurist, to start serving your families in the community. And the purpose is so that you can actually get remedy in real time and help other people along the way. I want you to be better. I want you to be better than your professor and just other people, just in general, because, you need to be proficient. Will you get a certificate? Yes, you'll get a certificate. And there's opportunities for partnership just within the tribe, not just me. And then you'll have mock examples and how to handle these situations as well. Because there's different snares that you will come across as a jurist, and you need to be able to just think critically and just know how to address it, right? So these are some of the materials you'll need. You'll need Legal Maestro Manual. You have Black's Law Dictionary, Lost Heritage, Jurist Level Manual 1. And then this is the homework with the quizzes that you have. You have the quizzes already in the syllabus. So quiz 1 is in the syllabus. And then you're just going to read in the Legal Maestro Manual 1 through 6 sections of the book. And then you're going to read the protocol manual in ARNA 1 through 20. And all that stuff should be already in your email if you haven't gotten it already. And this is just for those who may want to enroll. We have summer and fall as, basically you don't need, there's no live session, right? It's basically on class. Peace, family. And spring and winter are actually live classes. That's how we do it. And so that way you can enroll. So, okay. What is a jurist? A jurist in ARNA is going to be serving the community. A jurist is one who is skilled and proficient in law, right? And you need to be able to speak, communicate, these things. You're going to be the one that's going to be assisting people. You're going to be taking people through the process properly. You're going to be getting people nationalized. You're going to get, people's debts discharged properly, legally, and lawfully. And you're going to be helping them with other issues, formulating businesses, creating and helping them build business credit, repair personal credit, all these different things. Lawsuits, once you get to level 3 and stuff like that, right? So these are things you just want to be aware of, right? All right. So for the students, I know some people are just watching from YouTube, which is fine. And you can actually, we'll go through this scenario. So if a grandmother came to explain to you that they are indigenous, number one, right? And that they also explain that they have proof that their family is indigenous. That's what they said. But they are currently in court trying to invoke tribal law or tribal jurisdiction. Okay. And they're trying to get back their granddaughter that they lost in custody in court. How would y'all handle this situation? As a jurist, those who are new, I know you're like, I don't know, brother. This is new to me. What would you do? What would the approach be? These are different things that you want to ask yourself. How would you handle it? And so the first question usually that I ask people is like, okay, what happened? How did we get here? Like, how did we actually get to this point where you don't have custody of your granddaughter, and why are you in court? And then, quite frankly, they said they had proof. Oh, like, okay, that's cool. You have proof. Maybe you found something on the dolls rolls with their family listed. Maybe it was great grandparents, and you got the birth certificate and stuff like that. But what tribe do you belong to, and do they acknowledge you? So that's the thing. You can't claim a tribe if they don't claim you. So you have to go through some type of formal process to actually be a part of that tribe to even try to invoke that. It's no different with an ARNA. So people may come across ARNA and they're thinking, okay, yeah, if I just do X, Y, Z, then everything will be all okay. But we have to actually take you through the process, and that's what you're going to be doing with people as you explain and you educate them of exactly what ARNA IPA actually is. So, now, why did that happen? Did nobody tell you to exit that off? But they did. Don't know why. Okay. Always watching. Okay. So the mindset. This is very important, right? Even before you even start the class, you go over the class material, you're reading, you're watching previous videos. You can't be lazy. You cannot be lazy. It takes a lot of work. But it's rewarding at the same time. But you just can't be lazy. You can't cut corners. You want to operate in a smart way, but you also need to work hard. Because again, this is people's livelihoods. These are people's situations that you're assisting and aiding and trying to provide remedy. You need to be accountable for all your actions. So anything that you do, you need to be accountable. You need to hold yourself to a standard, and you hold yourself to that standard always, no matter what. You need to have good people skills and good time management skills, because there's going to be a lot thrown at you, and you need to be able to manage your time effectively and efficiently. And you need to have good people skills. You need to be able to interact with people. People have to know that they can go to you and know that they're not going to get lashed out or they're not going to be treated as if they're idiots or condescend, all these things. Just be a good person in general. You need a strong human will and a mindset, right? The mindset is key. Learn from your mistakes, but you need to take action. You mostly need to take action. And this is how you gain experience. If you don't have experience, you don't know how to do something, that means you haven't tried a process. You haven't followed a process from start to finish, meaning taking somebody through nationalization from A to Z. Some of y'all, some people have gone through the course and they have not nationalized anybody yet because either they're nervous about something or they just, they don't want to mess up. And it's like, it's okay, just get started. And then you need to ask questions. You need to be able to do legal research, which we'll go over and stuff like that. You need to be able to use technology, quite frankly. You need to be able to think critically about different scenarios that you'll come across. You need to be able to discern from people and their stories that they tell you, have basic skills, and be creative, right? So we just want y'all to be the best. So here's the thing. The world and the system will try to ridicule you for what you're doing and just what you're standing for, right? Right? And you're like, nah, Kojo, what you talking about? I'm gonna show you. Here's an example. I don't know none of these people, right? None of them at all. Look at what the middle one says. I'm gonna zoom in. It says Black Americans are stealing Native American culture and trying to destroy Native American sovereignty. Do you see that? Ooh, it's crazy. Look at what this person says, right? Sounds like a cult. The fact that they charge pretendo, listen, it's crazy. But the worst one is here. Silly Afro Aboriginals. Powwows are for real American Aboriginals. Where's my thing? I know I ain't done it in a while. Where is it?
Huh?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is what they're saying. For real American, anyway, right? So, and here's another thing. You're not tax exempt in Oklahoma or Texas. You've been falsely selling people misinformation for years about this crap. You did not graduate or pass the bar, nor do you have a license to practice medicine. Listen, these people will ridicule you. Be prepared. But if you do the things right, you learn the processes, again, there's nothing for you to worry about, right? So hopefully that makes sense, right? All right. What is ARNA? And this is just for those who are just kind of sitting there. ARNA is a tribal government for the so-called Black American, misnomer African American, the so-called Negro. It's a nation that has its people, just sanguineous, and land, just solely, right? This is the only and has been the only government for Aboriginal Americans, Blacks. And the founder and current chief is Amaru Shiali. He's the one that put this all together and had the foresight to see it and put it all together, right? Yep. Doesn't get any. All right, I'm telling you, right? Peace, you're in the building. Okay. And then why ARNA has self-autonomy. We didn't give up individual sovereignty for recognition, even though we'll talk about that we're going through the process currently, right? With another entity underneath ARNA. So that's just something that you got to understand. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So you see, this is the formal recognition that Chief Ali acquired and things of that nature for ISIS/ARNA, right? For the plebiscite known as ARNA, right? So as the Department of State with Condoleezza Rice's signature on it. And then you see the Office of Secretary of Commonwealth in Pennsylvania, right? You see the signature, you see the custodial documents, right? This is the proof. Proof is in the pudding, right? So we're not just talking about it. All right. These are some of the things that you need to understand and be able to communicate with people. Everyone has the right to a nationality. And we'll talk a little bit more details for the students who are actually students. Again, this is just public. One class is public, and it's just because of general information. No one shall arbitrarily deprive of his or her nationality or deny the right to change his or her nationality. This is what these people, we have a small group of people trying to tell the world who you are. And this is under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, literally in Article 15. So when you're dealing with these courts, you're dealing with these entities, they're trying to tell you, you are not even indigenous. We always go back to the receipts, man. Look, they said, you not even silly Afro Aboriginals. They're for powwows are for real American Aboriginals. All right. So terms colonizers have used throughout the years, right? And this is what causes people to have confusion, right? So we've talked about this before, but Africans are not even Africans, right? They belong to specific tribes, specific names. Romans were the first ones that actually used the word Africa or African. So you can see the different names, and it was a Roman goddess, right? So keep that in mind. And you see it imprinted on the coin itself, right here, right? Can't make it up. So you see this right here. You see they went as far as pushing Pan-African movement, which again, this is a deity. This is a homosexual Roman deity known as Pan, and a white Roman goddess, which is crazy, African, right? So they're putting those two together, and that's how they started the Pan-African movement, right? So look at the energy signature that's behind these names, these terms. All right, so this one, I think most people know this. Maybe, I hope so. So Coretta Scott King is and has Creek Indian on her mother's side. You're like, nah, Kojo. And so does Martin Luther King. He's indigenous, literally. And I'll show you. But let's ask AIs for a second. I asked the question to AI just on Google, right? I said, is Martin Luther King Native American / indigenous to North America? These terms, right? It said no. Martin Luther King was not Native American. He was African American. We talk about these terms, right? And they go into, he was born in Georgia and, a Baptist minister, activist, and stuff like that, civil rights movements, right? So AI is already crafting the narrative. So when people type in, yeah, he's not even Native American, but they confirm Coretta Scott had Native American ancestry, right? Like it doesn't even exist, but that she mentions it. But they also harp that Martin was a Black and Native American descent with his mother. This is what AI, I'm telling y'all, you need to make sure you do your homework, right? So why am I showing you this? I'm going to show y'all some receipts, right? So let's start with Coretta Scott. Coretta Scott's parents were Bernice Scott and Olie Scott. Her grandparents are Molly Smith and Martin McCurry. If we go and look on the rolls, we see Creek, Molly Smith being listed with a roll number. Okay, so we already knew that, based off of the genealogy and stuff like that, that was already confirmed, right? But what about Mr. Martin Luther King? What about him? All right. So I know people think that, and why am I mentioning this? Because he did do some, activism for Native Americans, right? So it's like, damn, like that makes sense, right? So let me minimize this so you can actually see this. Martin Luther King, Cherokee background on his father's side. I'll show you I'll trace you the roots. Martin Luther King Sr. and then Alberta Williams were his parents. Grandparents were James Albert King and Delia Lindsay Long. That was the grandparents, right? Then the great-grandparent, Melinda King. Now, if we go to the rolls, Melinda King is listed as Cherokee. Here's the card. There's a roll number. So why is AI saying that? Nah, he wasn't. He didn't have no. He's Black. He's an African American. Why can't you just understand that he's African American? This is programs that they crafted, right? Sam Alton, the PayPal mafia, right? That created, this AI technology and is holding and still sharing misinformation. So you have to be careful. Always qualify, right? Because I just showed you. Right? All right. So moving on is that some people have dual lineage. Some people are indigenous to the misnomer name of the continent Africa. And then most Black Americans are indigenous to North America, contrary to what they're telling you. The narrative that these school systems is telling you is that you were brought here on a boat into slavery. And you know who funded the Department of Education? Obviously, John D. Rockefeller. Now, I'm just trying to give y'all some context, right? Because this is all plays into why you need to understand history and where we're going and how we got here and what's happening. The importance of the Dawes and Roll Acts. The Dawes Rolls and any rolls is really acts like documents of genocide. Because if you look what it says: illegally dissolved 90 million acres of native land that belong to indigenous people. But nobody talks about it. Nobody will talk about it. Right? So you got to understand that. We already talked about this. Just want to reaffirm that. So here's the thing. Political genocide with terms called Black, African American, even though it's been proven that Aboriginal Indian tribes have been here that are Black, right? And you can see right here the close-up connection between Aboriginals, misnamed Indians, and the Moors in Mexico at the time, which areas were called Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California. Look right here in this passage right here, where it says, the Mexico begins. Thence beyond Bravo began Moorish people and their Indian associates, to whom Mexico properly belongs. Look, listen, it's right there, right? So you need to know this stuff. And I want to make this quick because I know we got other classes going on too. So people are caught up in words. You're caught up in words. Fiction of law, something known to be false, but assumed to be true. You've been told that you are African American. Small group of people know that that's not true. Most people still think that they Pan-African. Yeah, I'm Pan-African movement. That's right. And yeah, it definitely hit up Mama She. Miss Mia, she is a wonderful genealogist in Region 6. So definitely hit her up. Her contact information should be on the site. Yeah. So anyway, I definitely wanted to throw that plug out there. So keep that in mind as jurists. You want to pay attention to legal terminology. And that's why you're going to have definitions in your quiz. Dual lineage. We already talked about this, right? Small group of people were brought, as slaves, but it wasn't in the 200, 300,000 that they put in this narrative or document. Here's the other thing they don't talk about. Have you ever seen or this being taught in school that Europeans were actually slaves and that they were actually the largest group of people that were enslaved? You'll never hear about it. Christian prisoners sold as slaves. Here's the image. They never talk about it, nor will they ever, because they got to get you to believe that, yeah, I come from. Look what AI said. Anyway, stay focused. So again, about 1 million or so European Christians were enslaved by Muslims in North Africa from 1530 to 1780, and I think it was much greater than that. Nobody will talk about it. So if you look, you can see in the numbers, if you go to the transatlantic slave trade, that the number of people that were brought over was not nowhere near in the 200,000 range. 8K at best. And slavery was done in reverse, contrary to what everybody is telling you and contrary to the narrative, right? So how did we end up here? You need to understand how we ended up here. We ended up here because colonizers of all kinds came in, distorted the facts of history, took away a specific group of people's nationality, denationalized true Aboriginals, and then colonizers cultured, appropriated from true Aboriginals globally. And then, treaties and protections that were supposed to be in place were violated to the highest degree. Specifically treated with the Delaware, protections weren't honored, and as a result, land was stripped, hence the Dawes Rolls, things of that nature. We'll go into the specifics. Here's an example of rewriting history that Lewis Howard, he's an Aboriginal American who was actually the creator of the light bulb. Not Thomas Edison. I'm just letting you know, in case you didn't know. But I'm sure most of y'all know. This, when you let that occur, this is what happens. Look what they're saying. This is the new Europeans. How waves of immigrants are reshaping a continent. Why does this matter? Why do I show this? Because this is exactly what has taken place in North America. This is what's happening in all different parts. They're taking over small group of people and writing a narrative, right? Trying to rewrite history. You being told you're not African enough. It's crazy. All right, so let's go to some definitions. Some definitions that you probably should be aware of. Look what it says. Black, not of Hispanic origins. That's very specific. A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. But when we go to American Indian, Alaska Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America and who maintain cultural identification through tribal affiliation and community recognition. It's crazy. Some people have no family relatives have ever even seen or touched the continent Africa. But yet they call you black, and therefore you have origins, allegedly, legal definition, in Africa. But I guarantee you, when you do lawsuits under Title VII, Title VI, whatever the case is, they'll tell you, okay, yeah, you have civil rights as a black person, but when you go in and tell them, nah, you actually indigenous American, they're like, pump the brakes. They're like, what? What are you talking about? They say indigenous what? Huh? And they will literally do this. There's somebody in the tribe and they know who this is. And there was a lawyer, and this lawyer was like, yeah, so you're doing under Title VII for racial discrimination, right? Because of, you're black, right? And the person said, I'm indigenous American. And the lady was so perplexed. She was looking like this, like, you lying. You black just like me. That's literally the reaction. And again, that's because of acts of denationalization, acts of genocide throughout the years. Right? All right. Some things that you can use to your advantage too, since they're going to classify you as that, just look at this. Black as a political status is a disability because you are disabled from your rights and your true heritage, period. And even from law school, somebody has wrote up blackness as a disability. Okay. Let's keep it moving. So let's talk about the 14th Amendment. And then students are going to be hearing this over and over and over again because you do need to have this engraved in your mind. Now, some of you are probably like, "Ooh, I heard this morning too." You're going to hear it over and over and over again. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Okay. And the validity of the public debt authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions, bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebel, shall not be questioned. They're telling you will not question the debt at all. Never. You don't have the right to. And that includes artificial persons, corporate citizens, all these things. 14th Amendment, artificial persons. Why am I bringing this up? They're negotiating your rights through ignorance. Negotiation is effective even obtained from an infant. And this is in Article 3, Section 202 of the U.S. Code, Uniform Commercial Code. Literally, that's what they're doing. Right? Here are the current Native Americans. As you saw, I showed you how they feel about quote unquote misnomer blacks. They say you're not even indigenous to here. Go back to Africa. That's what they're telling you. It's your Asians, the ones that are claiming that they're indigenous to North America, which is not, that's not right. Anyway, let's go. I know some of y'all have had when you talk to your families and you talk to your grandma, she gonna say, baby, we was Indian. Like your great grandma was Indian, and everybody in the family may either shun it or like, oh, ignore her. We don't talk about that side of the family. Like, and that should be an indication, like, because you can look at like these. The oldest living tree is in North America, not in Africa. The oldest school is from North America, not Africa, right? So that should tell you all things started in North America, right? Okay. We got to bring some misunderstanding to the Dred Scott case because this is where three main issues: the political term Negro, the issue of the political term African, and the issue of being imported into this country as property or descendants of slaves. These are the three main issues because they said, can Africans and their so-called descendants that come from slaves actually be citizens? They said no. Right? And these things, these political terms are acts of genocidal acts and acts of denationalization with these terms. You are not and can never be politically or radically Africans. These terms come from white people or Europeans, and it's been proven. We talked about where these come from. Yes, some people were kidnapped and denationalized, and that's still happening today with human trafficking. Right? So you have lineage from the oldest American, which is she, misnomered Omex, right? And there was various indigenous tribes whom were Aboriginal Muslims of Moors, right? On an international, they were at war with the Europeans, and they had a treaty in place. So these are things you need to keep in mind. Here's another document that just further goes into what you need to be aware of when people are like, nah, it's never been documented. Lewis and Clark exploration, when they were exploring, documented everything in sight, from plants, weather, people, rocks, weather, it don't matter. Tribes. It was like there was the red man. There was people who were not like the red man or the white man. They were actually black, bushy-headed Washingtons. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Here's something else. Yamasee Indians were Negroes of the South. Period. From pre-invasion of Europeans till colonization, 1600s to all the way to 1800s, it was a fact that Southern Indians were Negroes. Period. Trying to make sure that here it is. Here's where you can see the image. You probably can't see that, but it says Yamasee Indians were Negro. Shall I zoom in? Were Negro. So going back to those people who were like, y'all not even from here. Hey man, documentation. Powhatan, 200 men as black as himself. Again, with the Delaware and the whole war that took place, defeating the Powhatan. 200 men, black as himself. And this is all documented. Exactly. You're right. You're exactly right. So, here's the entity that I was describing that is underneath ARNA that is going through the process of recognition, right? You see it right here, the Yamasee Powhatan Nation, right? Here's the image of it. Right, I won't spend too much time, right? So now I got to talk about the important thing is, where are we going? You're like, yeah, that was great. Great history lesson. I didn't realize, MLK was, indigenous. I didn't realize his wife was indigenous. I might have known that, but I didn't believe it. Where are we going? People who remain as the status called Negro African American will be wiped out, period. You'll be wiped out. And they're already doing things to make you less and less relevant. You already see they have automation in place. You already see they have AI. You already see UPS. UPS is firing 20,000 people. Technology is here and it's wiping people's jobs, period. People who are choosing to be independent will also too be wiped out because they're like, oh, I can just make the money all by myself without a tribe, without a group, without a network. You're gonna be wiped out. People in ARNA, IPA who continue to start families, gain skills within Average University and outside, and work on the same code will win. Starting cities, actually owning the cities as families, real estate, land, it's one of the main keys. If you don't own anything, how can you actually control it? And you'd be like, I can just own it, I just, I get a mortgage and and then, but if you own it as a 14th Amendment citizen, you really don't own it because they can take it at any time they choose to. Keep that in mind, right? Stop paying taxes on it, see what happens. Average University is the new education system. Building up local jurisdictions is the key. Building up systems and creating ecosystems, very important. And just families to stay focused will get restitution. And staying on code, the restitution is coming. So why I bring all this to say is the key component is jurisdiction. And that's what you're going to have to understand as a jurist. Jurisdiction is key. Some people will be like, yeah, I can just do whatever in the United States. I'm sovereign. This is what some of these sovereign citizens that, the whites that have started this whole thing are now. And then, other people have taken upon themselves to kind of go further and do all types of weird processes that, don't make sense, getting people locked up. You're subject to the jurisdiction that you inhabit. So you always ask the sovereign citizen, you sovereign. What jurisdiction do you belong to? And they'll say like the state of Texas. You'd be like, isn't that still in the United States? Because there's only two types of jurisdictions in the United States or North America. There's the United States and tribal jurisdictions. You're subject to one of those, if not both, right? So tribal members are also subject to the United States jurisdiction because there's laws set in place. You got personal jurisdiction, you got subject matter jurisdiction. Some people think, oh, okay, if I go over to overseas and find me a wife and, I ain't got to adhere to the laws and things of that nature over in that country. It's like false. You can't just go around to Dubai and do whatever you want. They're going to throw you in jail. And we've seen that documented, right? So pay attention to these laws, right? Pay attention to jurisdiction because that's the key. And that's why we want to continue to build up local jurisdictions. We want to continue to build the tribal government within ARNA, within, just all this stuff because it has a particular purpose, right? And just keep in mind that throughout human history, slavery has been implemented against many nations in different forms. It has everything that we're talking about has everything to do with reclaiming jurisdiction after being denationalized of identity and genocide. Whites were brought here as slaves by Moors. And who taught Vikings the route to Americas, not Columbus. It's crazy. So they try to wipe history out, and it's crazy. Oh, peace, family, you in the building. Let me know. I know you're one of the students. Let me know if you've seen the updated syllabus. So in case you want to actually come in, if not, I can post the link for the students to come into. And again, moving forward, it'll just be on the StreamYard, so it won't be publicized to YouTube and stuff like that. So we almost done, y'all. I want to make sure I respect y'all's time. All right. I'm gonna give y'all an example because some of y'all are gonna be answering some of these example questions that you like, ooh, why are you talking about? These scenarios are real, y'all. If a national calls you telling you that they were raped and tortured and declares for a national emergency, the national is requesting that all branches of government get involved to go where they're at. As a jurist, how would you handle the situation and what would you do? Well, for one, you can't disregard it because that's a serious issue. It's a bad situation. So what you got to do, you got to investigate. You got to collect information, data collecting. You got to collect data. Always do some homework. So you're like, okay, tell me what happened. Who was there? Who was the person that allegedly did this to you? What happened? Do you have evidence? Do you have do you remember what happened? Where were you at? Why were you there? Why was this person here? You got to get all this information. Was that other person a national, right? Because that's the key thing. Are you still a current national, right? Because some people may not be a current national. So you got to ask these questions. And why do you want all heads of branches to come to where you're at? That sounds very, very, very suspicious. Very alarming too at the same time. So the big thing that I'm just kind of harping on with these examples is you want to collect data before just assuming that everything is an emergency. Like I told you, people will tell you stories that are not even real. And they expect you to jump on it like it is real. This scenario that I'm telling you was a real scenario, but the person's allegations never happened. It was all in the mind. Never happened. It was all made up. So imagine if all branches of government went to where they're at. What would happen? Nobody would know. But you don't want people set up and stuff like that, right? So that's the idea. So hopefully that makes sense with that example. And I'm gonna play this video real quick just to give you an idea what this. Let's see if it will play. So they're saying that they want to strip the Islamic ideology of their nationality and be expelled from the country that they inhabit, right? Like I told you. The French want to do this to people. As an example, they're like, yeah, we don't like the ideology, so we're going to strip them of their nationality. This is what French. So to think that it never happened in North America would be foolish. You already can see. We go back to the definitions. They've stripped Aboriginal Americans of their nationality to be calling them something else that doesn't even make sense. Because they're saying that it's radical what the people who live in the French, who live in the mosque and stuff like that are doing. They need to shut them down. So just pay attention. And some of them are binational, right? So some of them they were born there because they think that they're a threat. So that's the same thing with Aboriginal Americans, black misnomer blacks. They think you're a threat. So what do they want to do? They want to keep you suppressed. They want to keep you dumb. They want to keep you ignorant. Follow their game plan so that they can use you as human capital, human collateral. So to be able to explain this to people who come into ARNA, who are interested in basically getting some information, knowing the history, how do they claim their nationality, how do they get protection for their families, you got to talk people through some of the things that may be interesting to them. You're going to be dealing with people who talk about just status correction. They're like, yeah, you got to get your status. I remember people talking about this like 7 years ago, status correction, from people like Polite, Pharaoh, all these people. They're like, yeah, you got to do the status correction. You got to do this, that. And all of them, where are they at? Either in jail, dealing with crazy baby mama drama, or just stealing and scamming other people who fall for that. So status correction is not a thing. All right. So the homework, just to reiterate, the homework really is you're going to be reading the Legal Maestro Manual, sections 1 through 6 of the book. And you're going to read pages 1 through 20 of the ARNA Protocol Manual. And then you have the homework link that's in your syllabus. So I'm going to open up the floor for actual students. So I see there's a couple right here. And then y'all can ask y'all's questions. I don't know why people. I'll call you back. Peace, God. If you have a question, feel free to ask. If you have questions about the syllabus, this is really your time, because you're a student that has actually paid. So let me know if you need it unmute. Okay, you go. You got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And on the syllabus, it said that there was a quiz. That's not today, is it?
Oh, it's today.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go rewatch the video that you just did a live on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yep. It's gonna be on YouTube, or did I do it on StreamYard?
It should be on StreamYard and YouTube, but moving forward, it'll just be StreamYard. We always just do the first class because it's general information to the public, the live and stuff like that. But everything else is going to be on the private side. So
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna just rewatch the video. I just got in, man, like 10 minutes ago.
no problem, no problem. Did you? I mean, you got all the materials though, right?
Yep. I got the book open and everything, so got to take care of that. I do need help directing, because I do want to open up my own jurisdiction out here in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. So
Okay.
like the step by step, like how you did it. I kind of want to be able to show people in my neighborhood as well, like what's going on, like because y'all got to set up to a point where y'all have a network. And it's something I've been trying to. I've been actually creating like a network myself, but they don't see it happening in time. So that's why I'm actually in the class trying to learn it all step by step, so I can do it legitimately for real.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing, like what you're doing, because again, you have a network of people. You got people who are obviously watching you. They're like, yeah, I know you did you and Arna. Like, I just need to see, some fruits of your labor, right?
Yeah.
Or concrete stuff. So you just really got to just show people, and so that's you're gonna learn all that stuff, and in the course of actually how to go about opening up your own local jurisdiction or just getting active and getting people nationalized, getting people going through certifications and stuff like that. Because like when I tell you, this is the most important thing is opening up a local jurisdiction, functioning as families. There is nothing else that is more important than getting that set up properly, because to be operating as a 14th Amendment citizen and be subject to the BS that's occurring, you don't want to be a part of all that. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So.
And when you open your jurisdiction, do y'all have your own office, or do y'all like just stay at your private location, like a house or an apartment or something like that? Because I was thinking like opening up my own like office, probably like something cheap, like $500 a month.
Yeah, so you could do that. You could have like basically where it's just a mailing address, or you could actually have your own physical building. So we have land. I use multiple addresses, whether it's the land address or the actual house that I, quote unquote, inhabit in, right? But there's multiple addresses that I'm using because we have the exemption number in Oklahoma, we have the exemption number in Arkansas, we have the exemption number in Texas. So obviously there's different addresses for the different locations.
Okay.
So it just really depends. You really want to make sure that if it's cost effective, y'all can own, like you can, if you get a plot of land, put a building on top of it, and then you could use that as the quote unquote headquarters. So it really just depends on how you want to go about it.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, if you just need to use your house, because it's your house and you got it and stuff like that, then that's how you manage it. You just want to make sure that things are cost effective. And then you're also gonna, once you actually get through the through this course, well, I have to send y'all the video that's kind of updated that goes over the FBOs, because that's going to be the key component that you're going to need to use along with the other entities. So, and that's for further protection. So once y'all actually complete this course, y'all actually are legally contracted as a jurist, and everything's good to go. Then I'll send y'all that video to watch, and then you'll see exactly how to set up that FBO, tribal FBO.
Okay. Man, I'm so excited. What's the FBO?
Faith-based organization.
Faith-based organization.
So you can make you can make faith-based organizations all day, every day, but there's a difference when it's tribal. And there's tribal faith-based organizations, and not everybody's even doing that. I can only tell you that we've been on the main ones, and Arna talking about it, specifically Chief when he brought it out. That's how he's been operating Arna and his other businesses, is through FBO. And it's a further shield mechanism to actually keep, entities like the IRS and things of that nature from coming in and trying to say, hey, you owe us some money, even though it's like, well, show me the proof. And if let's say they've indicted you, they've done all the documentation, then they actually can strip your status, the 501c3, 501d. But when it comes to the actual 501c, I can't remember, but basically the FBO, it can't be stripped of that, and it's protection, and it's tribal. So it's one other jurisdiction. What we talked about is jurisdiction. Okay. So there's different laws that are applicable. So you'll learn like specifically why tribal businesses, tribal entities have these laws and protections in place that these entities can't come and just touch you. But the FBO is the one that you want to be setting up for your local jurisdiction and for your family and just other families that are within the tribe and within that local jurisdiction.
Okay. Wow. So when it comes to other people that have businesses, but they're not a part of ARNA, and they see all my content, they see me helping people, and they want to come and get their business tax exempt, is that like some of the work that we're putting in for people?
Yes. So let me remove this.
So like anybody, right? Anybody that has like their own barbershop that I grew up with, they open their own barbershop, they got their own businesses, they have clients and all that. I can help them become tax exempt. Yes,
sir. And that's really the point, because like you want to help people in your community, people that and inform them like, listen. And some people they don't believe it at first until you actually show them. So you're like, okay, look.
That's literally why I have to take them steps to show people, because I can't just keep talking about it, and I have to open my own business as well. That's literally what I've been going through for like the past 5 years.
That's it. And you'll see it. I'll show in class, like you'll see the back end of the Shabazz Associates website and just how much for that month that it generated in what we would call compensation, which we're going to even change that whole model and stuff like that. It's basically going to be a donation. But all the donations that were contributed and how I've not even reported it. Haven't reported it, won't report it because there's not need. It's a tribal entity. So businesses that have, let's say like, because the barber has licenses that they have to acquire, right? So they're going to have an LLC, but they can get a tribal LLC from us. And, they'll go through the Secretary of State registration, and then they'll just have to be responsible for state taxes, right?
Right.
But federal taxes, they don't have to worry about that.
Right. Okay.
So, but if, let's say it was people who don't have licenses, right?
Okay.
And even then, like, you can even work around that situation. Because, like, I'll give you an example. So let's say that the barber opens up a membership-only barbershop. So it means people sign a waiver of liability. They go through the whole process, and that's a whole unincorporated association. It's basically a club, and they're cutting hair, tax exempt, federal and state level, because it's a club. It's literally a club, and it's a membership only. It's not open to the general public. You have to be a member that pays fees in order for you to get a haircut at this particular rate, or if you don't pay a rate because you're a member, stuff like that. And then boom, that's a whole workaround, and it's tribal.
Okay, so just because it's private, you got to pay the federal tax.
No, so when it's actual, when you do it the way that I just explained, you wouldn't have to pay the state tax or federal tax. So you wouldn't have to pay that because you're basically have set up a membership only, and it's tribal.
Oh,
but I get it. People want to see that, because you're going to be dealing with, and there's more steps to that because, if they have the building, they need to make sure, like I said, if they have an FBO that has the property, and then that's where they're operating as, again, all the things that they're doing is a service or, a service for a donation, for this membership that they're a part of. There's nothing for them to worry about. There's nothing for them to report. The only thing that they will report is that this entity is paying them, let's say, an income or something like that, because they want to buy real estate or whatever, and they need to show some type of, and we'll talk about all that stuff a little bit later, but that's kind of an example of like a workaround in that instance. So there's there's many ways, but if they want to just stick on okay, yeah, I'm familiar with just having my license. I want to keep my license, and that's cool. That's cool. They can operate tribal LLC or standard LLC, get registered, stuff like that, and then they'll just pay for state taxes, but they wouldn't have to pay for federal taxes because it's a tribal entity.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, you answered all my questions so far. I don't have anything else. Like,
okay.
That's what I want to ask you, like, just to get straight to it. But I've been thinking of this for so long. I've been manifesting it. I'm happy it's finally happening. So
I'm proud of you, man.
I don't want to take too much of your time. Get straight to the.
You're good. You're good. Like I said, this is for y'all. And like I said, whenever this is private on the StreamYard side, it'll just be. We'll be there for however long we need to be to get you to understand, exactly what I just explained or covered. So that way there's no mishaps. You can go in because what the thing is, you guys are going to have group projects. So you're going to have to work together. And that further enforces of what I'm talking about being able to work together with people, being able to expand your network, being able to, just have a good, just good communication skills because you're going to be doing assignments as groups. And so I know some of the students that watch from YouTube and stuff like that, and we have some former students in here too. But yeah, so we're there for as long as we need to be, just so that you guys are efficient, you guys are competent, you're able to execute. So,
right. So, like at the end, our own dissertation.
No, so once you actually go through this, you go through level 1, right? What I'm talking about as far as like group projects, you may actually be taking on like a actual client to get you like, oh shit, like because some people they have the jitters of interacting with a client. They're like, and then some of them don't know how to handle when they're asking like questions that are like, oh, I don't know that answer. But you gotta get started somewhere, and that's why. And sometimes it may be a difficult client.
Right.
That's okay. Or you may be doing a debt process, just to see, did you follow what I walked through for as far as the process? And then you need to be able to present that. You're going to be going over lawsuits, right? Even though you can only do that for level 3, but I still want to get y'all exposed to that because so many people get abused. That's the only thing I can say. So many people get abused by different entities, like these buy now, pay later car lots. Like these people schemes, create mass schemes with these, signing people up for extended warranty, and they didn't even sign up for that. That's fraud. So, yeah. So this is really to get you to be better than just me, because that's the whole job of a professor, is to make sure that you guys are better than me, and then y'all can build on top of that. That way you can go on and do a dissertation, which is that's level 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm saying there's steps to it. I'm seeing it all now. I'm seeing it. So pay for each class, right, and attend each level. So like I do the first one and then the second one. It'd be the same concept.
The level 2 one is a little different. So the level 2, you'll be basically a distributor. You'll be an official distributor. And even with that comes a set of procedures and processes. So I'll give you an example. You have to make, let's say, travel driver's license for people. Well, before you actually do that, because let's say they just paid. Okay, they paid. Cool. Then you hand them the ID. Wrong. So they first have to sign an affidavit. That one, they ain't got no crimes on their neck. There ain't no tickets, no outstanding, nothing. Because that's going to make ARNA's DMV liable for them driving with our credentials when they get pulled over. And that has happened before, which is why we have people sign that. And then we do a background check on them just to make sure they have to send a background check of their driving history. So that way we double check that there's nothing going on and they're not running from the law. So once they do that, then you give them the ID and then you give them an affidavit that they need to get notarized as part of the procedures and stuff like that. I make people take a test to make sure that they understand what they're, getting.
Right.
I need to make sure that they're competent, they understand the rules, they know what they need to do. They need to update certain credentials, car, all that stuff. And then you have to pay a fee to headquarters. That's always the thing, and that's what you'll learn as level 1 jurist is that there is associated fees that you are responsible for, and you need to be able to manage your finances, right? So when you get paid or compensated $720 for nationality, somebody's nationality, if you're level 1, you already know you're going to have to pay $80 to an ID distributor, and then you're going to pay $360 to headquarters by default because you don't have the capability to do IDs. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you keep the remaining of it. So, which is $280. And that's the math. So we want y'all to be very proficient. Just make sure you're managing and staying organized because you do get audited, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want any issues, right? So that's why I'm saying this publicly. So you have to have a client file book. We'll go over all that.
Right.
We want y'all to be the best. So
yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. It's what it sounds like to me as well. I do got to do a lot more investing. Like I gotta buy like a lot of what's the word? Like office supplies to keep everything organized, like a file cabinet or something like that.
You do, and like even to the paper, right? So everything you want to do is this is what you want to have in your mind. Everything that you do, you want to do it first class. Period. So people were like, oh yeah, this brother took care of me. He did everything. The paper was nice. Put it in the folder and even walked me through it. With his video, right? That's how you automate some of these things. Because like sometimes you do need to be able to explain to people, get on the phone with them, like, hey, this is how you do it. Even though they have the instruction sheet, people still want to hear from people. That's part of customer service, right? Yeah. Imagine, and this is an easy example. Imagine your professor. You enrolled. You didn't hear nothing. And matter of fact, you did hear something. You heard an email that, this is going to be, self-paced. There's no live classes. Have a good day. You know what you would be like? You'd be like, that's not what I signed up for. That's not what I signed up for. But that's what that's what I'm talking about. So like, you want to do everything first class. You want to keep your word. You want to stay organized and have systems in place. And that I'll show you all those things. But first, you got to get the basics down. So you got to be able to do the nationality paperwork, right? So you need to be able to, okay, I know I need to replace this. I know I need to stamp at the right corner. I need to, or seal it at the right corner with the sticker, stamp it. That's all that stuff you'll learn in phase 2. But like, we'll talk about that stuff just so that you understand, like, this is what you got to do. And you need to do it with, the spirit of excellence, because like, that's how you get more people to be referred to you. That's part of your marketing strategy. You do things right. You do things with the spirit of excellence. You go above and beyond for people, and you really mean it. People will refer you because they're like, oh yeah, well, I know you'll get it done, and I know you'll get it done right. So, and like I said, Chief showed me, and that's it, man. When he taught me to be a jurist 8-9 years ago, that was it, man. And then I just hit the ground running. So I've learned other things along the way. I've gone through different processes. I've done dissertations and stuff like that. But you're doing the levels that way because we need people active on the NJS, right? Who can help in that capacity, right? Or in the Minister of Congress, whichever one. It doesn't matter. We just need people active.
Yeah, no, so. I agree actually. And I don't want to be dead weight in a nation and not pulling my own weight, knowing I can and all that. Yep.
It's hard, man. Trust me, like it's hard, but it makes it easier when you have the families and they know that you're there. They know that okay, yeah, it's just not. I'm not going to be left on a stranded island. They know they can ask questions, that you're the go-to person, or you have people that they can go to. Like I said, there's components of that make that a whole easier process. You're basically going to be replicating ARNA on a local level with the RRP, which is the rites of passage, system and stuff like that. You're in that, right? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I'm in the particular group you're talking about. for like links and information. I don't think I'm getting sent any of that actually.
So you, okay? So you're not in that Facebook group for the rites of passage?
No, I'm not in the Rights of Passage Facebook group. I don't think so.
Okay. And we'll talk about there's some things that you're going to be doing to get you ready because you're going to have to do a recital. And that was one of the main things that is in your protocol manual, that you need to know the 12 general orders and the honor preamble, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the recital. So I'll ask you this. You did the rites of passage exam, right?
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, so just all you gotta do is I'll send you the group link, request it, and then we'll get you added, and then you can start that process. Just kind of schedule when you want to actually do that, the recital.
Okay.
But you got time.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. That's one thing I got to do. Schedule the recital. Okay.
And I think make sure. So, can I operate investing / trading with the tribal framework? Yes, you can, Mr. Martin. And I think I remember doing a class over this, and I know there's some other people who've done classes to reaffirm that. I know Al Shabazz, and we even talk about it in our dissertation too. You can operate these entities to hold assets like stocks, crypto, or even bonds and stuff like that, or private entities. I do that all the time, and I think I've talked about it publicly that there's websites like WeFunder or Start Engine that I utilize tribal entities to invest in different companies to actually get a return, possibly, right? Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but sometimes it does. That's part of the risk. So hopefully that answers that question. And then let me add this. Sister Lady, you have any questions or are you good? I just want to make sure that I'm fair to your time.
No, sir, I think I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. As far as that goes, y'all, that is going to wrap up class. So if there's no other questions, I'll see all the students next Saturday, and it'll be on the StreamYard. And like I said, you should have the syllabus. And if there's any other questions, feel free to schedule office hours, which are on Sundays at a particular time, and then we'll go from there. And this video should be saved, and you should have a record of this. So,
all right, bet.
All right, peace, family.
Peace.
Peace.